under Uniform Commercial Code 440.2511 by tender of payment 2 and 3.
It's not applicable to this case.
And could you tell me why, Your Honor?
Because the UCC doesn't apply to this circumstance. Sir?
Your Honor.
What's your name, sir? What is the claim in this case?
Judge, this is a non-payment of rent action with a money judgment being requested as well. I'm showing that rent is due in the amount of $1,588, court costs of $217 for a total rent retained of $1,805.
And sir,
Yes.
how do you intend upon paying this?
So, Your Honor, I actually tendered payment to Group 5 Management on November 3rd. And my form of payment was refused.
Was what?
My form of payment, she refused payment.
What was your form of payment?
A cashier's check. I actually have the voided check here. And I'm asking for
You had a
Yes.
cashier's check? Let me see.
If this is also the refusal in the email from the landlord. All right.
Danny, do you know anything about the refusal of payment?
I do not, Judge. Obviously, I'm standing in for Mr. Weiss. I believe my client or the client was supposed to be on. My understanding was that it wasn't a cashier's check. It was a counter or a check. And the reason it would have been refused was because he's had more than 3 checks come back as insufficient funds. But I would ask if I don't see if he's on here, Judge.
From Randolph Court or Group 5 on the Zoom? We don't have anybody checked in.
We don't.
Email.
Judge.
Hang on, listen, he has an email saying about the refusal. Well, it's a text message screenshot.
Yes, it's a email. I actually screenshotted it.
And it says from somebody with the last name of Aslam, ASLAM, indicating that they received a rent check in the sum of $1,238, which the check that he showed me was in the form of an over-the-counter check. However, must be certified funds. And then, second page, as the system will not accept this, maybe. But
Yeah, Judge, my notes on the ledger show counter check, which is a check that's not, it's one of the ones they give you from the bank. And so again, that's the decision I was taking anyways, it was refused.
So, sir,
Yes.
is there a reason why you can't get certified funds to the landlord?
Well, they actually accepted December's rent from the same check, Your Honor, from my bank.
Okay, but if...
Well, because it costs. And my defense is that under Uniform Commercial Code 440.2511, by tender of payment, 2 and 3.
It's not applicable to this case.
And could you tell me why, Your Honor?
Because the UCC doesn't apply to this circumstance.
I'm sorry?
The UCC doesn't apply to this circumstance.
It's a commercial transaction, Your Honor.
The UCC does not apply.
Okay. So where could I find this at that says that this isn't a commercial transaction?
That would be your assertion. I'm telling you it doesn't apply to this.
Just for my understanding that the Uniform Commercial Code governs all commercial transactions in commerce. And so based off of this law, tender of payment is why my defense is that once the tender of payment was refused, at that time, the charge or the total amount was charged.
Even if you were to do that analysis, you can't then have unjust enrichment, which means that you want to move.
I'm sorry?
you can't have unjust enrichment, so you'd have to move because you can't have the apartment and not pay.
No, I mean, I paid the rent. They took the exact form.
In this Michigan landlord-tenant hearing before Judge Simpson, the defendant appeared to answer a complaint for non-payment of rent, with the landlord seeking a total of $1,805, including $1,588 in unpaid rent and $217 in costs. When questioned about how he planned to resolve the balance, the defendant confidently stated that he had already tendered payment on November 3rd using what he described as a cashier's check, and claimed the landlord wrongfully refused it. However, upon review, the supposed cashier's check turned out to be an over-the-counter temporary check, the same type he had previously used for multiple bounced payments, causing the landlord to reject the latest one as unreliable. The landlord's attorney confirmed that after several NSF checks, the property management requires certified funds only, and that the rejected payment was neither certified nor guaranteed. Despite this, the defendant attempted to argue that under Uniform Commercial Code 440.2511, tender alone satisfied his obligation. Judge Simpson immediately rejected that theory, explaining that the UCC does not apply to residential rent disputes, making the defendant's legal claim irrelevant. The defendant continued insisting that landlord acceptance of December's rent proved the check was valid, but the judge reminded him that landlords may accept a payment voluntarily while still refusing non-certified funds when prior checks have repeatedly failed. As the judge pressed him for a clear commitment, asking 3 separate times whether he would provide certified funds, the defendant kept circling back to irrelevant arguments about the Uniform Commercial Code, unjust enrichment, and the $600 difference between his rent and the court's stated total. After watching the defendant avoid the question repeatedly, the judge finally demanded a direct answer, and the defendant reluctantly agreed he would supply certified funds. Even then, he disputed the total amount due, so Judge Simpson issued a structured order. The defendant must pay the undisputed base rent of $1,238 in certified funds by December 29, 2023, after which the court would review the remaining contested costs at a follow-up hearing. The matter was continued to January 5, 2024 at 2 p.m., with the judge warning that failure to pay by the deadline would result in an immediate judgment for the full amount, plus January's rent with no further discussion. When the defendant complained that court dates forced him to miss work, Judge Simpson firmly replied that court appearances are mandatory and cannot be scheduled around personal convenience. The hearing concluded with the judge's final warning that only proper certified funds count in court, not temporary checks, not UCC arguments, and not unsupported claims of tender. For more information, like and subscribe my channel.